This review is made possible still by our friends at Gunny's Gun Store, Orem, Utah. No money is changing hands for that. They just let me loan some guns and I talk about them once in a while. At least send them an email. Info on the screen down below. Tell Wyatt how goofy he looks. No, tell him thanks for supporting the show. And here we are again on the tabletop. And yet we don't stay here. We're going to go in field talking about this gun right here. Finally, the DPMS G2 series of sappers, AR-10 style of rifles, if you will, carbines. Highly requested for about 6 years by some of my subscribers here in the project. Do the Series 2, the Gen 2 DPMSs. If we go back a ways, well, heck, maybe about 6 years ago, the sapper I shot most was the Gen 1 LR308 series. I had 2 in stock. They have been sold. They're long gone now. I think a TMPer actually bought one. I know a TMPer did, and I forgot where the other one went or who it was sold to. But I had a TAC 20 version of the Gen 1 LR308. Man, was that a great gun. It was reliable. It was a tack driver. Super loved it. It was just really heavy. 20-inch heavy barrel, the TAC 20. It was shown in many videos here in TMP. In run and gun action, when we had Troy out, I ran a TAC 20 there in the sledgehammer drill. It went out in the cold a lot. And then I had a specially produced version. It was called a Classic Custom. And it had like an LMT stock on it. Really nice trigger. And I had Duracoated both of them. So they're really cool guns. But for SAWC, they got pitched. I still really liked them. And they were pretty much 100% reliable with most loads fired. And I talked about the Gen 1 LR308s and defended them. And back in the day, I actually caught a lot of criticism for doing it. So much so I came out with like a funny video. It was kind of like a movie that the LR308 rises to the occasion when I did Operation Red Skies. Is when we did a multi-day event. Matt Skutnik and PFI dude and I went out camping, running sappers. A really great exercise. We learned a lot, and that was rolled in the tabletop. Well, fast forward to the G2, and that's what DPMS calls them. A lot of us will call them the Gen 2 rifles. And yeah, requested by a lot of TMPers. And I gotta start this off with just honesty like I always do. I was super hopeful that the G2 would just be, well, shoot as well as the Gen 1, I should say the G1, whatever you want to call it, series of LR308s. Unfortunately, that was not the case. And I'm going to have to kind of lead off with that. And this, by the way, is my new enhanced lightweight GRV system, where POU really isn't discussed. I've hit it so many times. We're just going to talk about 3 things: features, how did it shoot, and would I buy it. Under that umbrella, I'll throw in some other things as it pertains to the subject. How did it shoot? And I have to say this right off because I only have so much video footage of this one is the Recon version of the G2, and procured that for loan, and it was our test bed, and I gotta tell you, it jammed a lot. I have to just throw that out there because I'm going to be throwing in inset footage. We don't stay on tabletop. We go out in the field. We're going to take you to the range, showing the proof footage, as I always call it, for the testing and review. And I like tabletop because it's not windy here. Every time I try to do an in-field review out in the desert, the wind's about 15, 20 miles an hour, it seems. I can't film. It's just impossible. It's not a sheltered area where I shoot. Yeah, I was disappointed. Now, let's get a couple things out of the way. It happened with all loads. It was errant in functioning. When I went to the outdoor range, it was okay. There were a couple jams, and it really didn't matter if it was a steel-cased round, like we see here, or a brass round, like we see there, or the magazines. It was just across the board. The DPMS G2 Recon had problems. I was disappointed. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was really expecting it to function 100%. but it didn't. And you're going to see that in the video. And another thing I guess we need to talk about is maybe some guys will say, hey, did you lube it? Yes, I did. Took it completely apart. It was lubed with high quality lubricant and cleaned, ready to go. There's really no reason at all it shouldn't have functioned. And by the way, I ran it with a DPMS steel magazine. I ran it with a Brownells 20 round aluminum. I don't have that. And then as you see on the table, the Magpul 20s. And it had problems. When we did the infield testing, it got pretty bad. To the point where I was like, I mean, I just basically gave up shooting the gun, because when a gun's so unreliable, and I have 5 others on that outing perhaps that need time, that need runs, then it's just a function of time, energy, and honestly interest. I just kind of go, you know, I'm just not into this. You know, what could we have done to troubleshoot it? Again, I'm not Mythbusters. We did take it apart and take a look at it. I didn't see anything that was readily apparent. Again, across the platform of multiple magazines, because magazines would be your first guess, right? Well, maybe it was a particular magazine. Well, when it happens against on 3 different magazines from 3 different manufacturers in material construction, it's not the magazine. Who knows, man? You know, is it a problem with ejector spring tension where you could fine tune it? I just don't know. That is a big bummer. I'm going to lead off with that, of how did it shoot? At least for reliability. Now, I did click around the internet looking, and most of the reports I saw were glowing in terms of the G2 series of the DPMS, and guys are reporting great reliability with it. What's the deal, nutnfancy? Go ask the desert, you know? It's the curse of the freaking desert, and I'm not joking. It just happens, and I don't know why it plays out that way. The crew members that shoot with me, we laugh about it, and it's to the point, if a gun does well out there, it's like, we're kind of joking about it, you know, like, wow, this thing, it rose to the occasion, and it did well. It was able to overcome the desert. That's saying something these days. Now, let me say this. I think, knowing DPMS, what is it, part of the Remington group now, you could probably send this gun back and it would get working. Should we have to do that? No. Stuff I've always talked about. Is it irritating? Absolutely. It's a big, heavy gun. You're going to have to ship common carrier. They should pay for it both ways, says me, but who knows? You could probably get it going, and it might be something minor. But that being said, it's not going to get a pass just because I have a history with LR308s. I love them, defended them. Here we have a Gen 2 series, and it just didn't do so good. Disappointing. And by the way, it did it with a wide variety of ammunition. I have some NATO spec, really good stuff that it was jamming with. I mean, hot NATO stuff. Brass, of course. Hertenberger. And I was just like, dude, come on. It shouldn't be doing that. So that's a downside. We got that out of the way. You're going to see it in the inset footage. I'm not going to edit that out. It is what it is. I did see, by the way, some dude online was reporting with his G2 Recon, he also had problems with steel. So my takeaway is, on a direct gas impingement AR-10 style rifle, it should work across the board with brass, with steel loads, right up until we decide to put a can on it. If we put a can on it, we change the gas pressures, we may have to fine tune this area with an adjustable gas block, from my own experience. Not that I'm the end-all expert, I'm not, but I'm just telling you what I've found out here in TMP, is that these guns have a high volume of gas, change the back pressure, you can have some issues. But uncorked, it should just run, and this gun did not. Okay, that being said, the upside to shooting how it shot was extremely accurately, upholding the tradition of the regular LR308. And by the way, let's go back in time. Actually, no, this is the same one. And I'm sorry, I said on the paper I'm calling it LR308. It's actually a G2 is what they're calling it, but you get the gist. Look at this accuracy though, dudes, out of this gun. 16-inch barrel. It's 762 by 51 chamber, 1 in 10 twist, 416 stainless barrel on this version. That's shooting great. TacticalAmmunition.com, 168 grain. Wow. Look at that. Winchester 150 grain soft point. That's this stuff. That's a hunting load. That's not a match load. Shooting easily into 1 MOA. 168 grain gold medal match. I gave it a little squiggly because it should shoot into one of these squares, 1 MOA. Ultramax, pretty good. I don't know where that one went. Cellar and Bellet 150 grain FMJ. Dang. That's at Austrian STG 58 ammo, 146 grain, but that's really good. From a NATO stamped round, don't you think? PMC shooting decent, not awesome, but PMC sucks for accuracy. Wolf, Tulamo. Tulamo shooting that group? That's like sub 2 MOA. Whoop, that's a different one. Sneak peek at what's coming. Don't tell anybody. By way of reference, we do have a Smith & Wesson M&P10 CQB version with a Holosun 503C on it. This one's set up, as you might see on their orange tape, just by way of reference, for 147 grain close range. That's why it's got the reflex sight on it. But when I put a scope on it, it'll shoot like this. So I'm saying with really good shooting, taking time, with good loads that it likes, easily MOA. This gun. With no free float rail. That's not free floated. This one is. That being said, I would say the accuracy of the DPMS G2 series, if this Recon's any indication, is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Upholding, again, the tradition of the Gen 1 LR308s. Get it reliable, and then you got something. Then you got something. Let's back it up now. POU standard, not talking about that, and enhanced lightweight GRV. There are several models being produced. All this can change, subject to changing by DPMS. I think they have a compact hunter version out. A lot of people still love the AP4 basic, as I call it, G2. And that one's going to be super basic and lighter in weight. It will feature a 4150 chrome-lined barrel, so it's not the stainless barrel. And it will also have a much better muzzle brake on it. This one here is an Advanced Armament 51T blackout silencer adapter. Whew, it's a mouthful. So it's set up for a can, specifically a can of the Remington Group, Advanced Armament. That's what they're doing. So you go buy their can on it. As a brake, by the way, this absolutely sucked. It was loud. It didn't provide any compensation at all. I would take it off immediately if it was me. Usually, not always, if I'm running a can, I'll do a screw-on can on a 5/8 by 24 like this. I would pitch that. It was very unpleasant. And the shoot, how did it shoot? I didn't really talk about that. I thought there was a lot of recoil impulse with the G2. More so than I would think with the Gen 1 LR308, which is surprising because the bolt carrier has been lightened by about 6 ounces. So less reciprocating mass back here. Does it have everything to do with the muzzle brake? I don't really know. All I know is it was not super enjoyable to shoot. You put like a Battle Comp 308 on there, maybe we're in business. Maybe then it's going to be much better. Other models, I was talking about the AP4, and honestly, I would really look seriously at the AP4 except for one thing. It has, I believe, a carbine length gas system. This one is mid-length, just like the, well, this is a proprietary length on M&P10, but it's very close. I like mid-length. You know, and so AP4 I think is a carbine length, and it's going to have like a standard FSB on the front. It's going to be less expensive. It's going to be a little bit lighter weight, 7 pounds 8 ounces around there. Then you've got this model, the Recon. The MOE is very cool. That one is an enhanced lightweight. There's that term again. It's just a really skinny barrel paired down with MOE furniture. That G2 by DPMS. It's going to be, I think, around 7 pounds 6 ounces. I don't really know if I trust the posted weights on it. I'll tell you why. Because this one's supposed to be like 8 pounds. I think manufacturer specifications like 8 pounds, 12 ounces, 8 pounds 8. On my scale with one magazine in it, I think it was a Magpul magazine, it weighs 9 pounds. You can see it on the red orange tape there, 4 ounces. That's not lightweight. I mean, the M&P10 beats that. And we're just talking no optics, as it comes out of the box, one magazine in. I always weigh it with a magazine. Doing otherwise really doesn't serve my purposes. The other models, SASS, and they have some long-range hunter models that can be extraordinarily heavy, designed for, you guessed it, hunting. Features. Let's go back to the weight thing. And a lot was made about the weight issue. And you know me, I beat the drum on SAWC pretty loudly, consistently over coming up on 10 years. I think a lot of TMPers, when they heard that the G2 series was out, it's like, awesome, man. So this is the LR308 that will really set the standard. And they did start, from what I understand, DPMS did, with a fresh sheet of paper. I mean, it's a completely different lower. It's a completely different upper. They're now out of 7075 forged T6, so it's not 6061 milled aluminum. Some people had issues with that in LR308. I really never did. I never saw a problem with it, but I do love forged. So they did that, and the bolt carrier was completely redesigned. They pared it down, so Gen 1 was like 1.3 inches in diameter. Gen 2, or G2 if you will, 9.3. Again, they're paring about 6 ounces off the bolt carrier. All that sounds great, right? And so we should get a rifle, as DPMS says, 30% lighter than the original. But 9 pounds 4 ounces on my scale is not that light. What I'm really waiting for is a sapper that comes out, as I've said, sub 8 pounds. With a decent barrel, not some pencil barrel, but a decent barrel. And the M&P10 is a really good example. So under the handguard, I'm not going to take it off, but it has a pretty thick barrel under here. It's just thinner post gas block. So it is saving weight, and yet it's a 5R rifle barrel, extremely accurate, as you've seen. And this is an 18-inch barrel. I prefer to always have an 18-inch barrel for blast recoil, slightly more velocity out of a sapper. Always said that. We'll stick with it. This is 16. Most of the G2 series will be 16 unless you go into the hunting philosophy of use, and then you can pull one of those out of the lineup. Features. Talked about the muzzle brake, talked about the barrel. It's a heavy profile barrel, blasted stainless steel. We talked about the chambering, low profile gas block. Obviously a well cut barrel, very consistent as it throws around, says me. It works. And then we come to the handguard, which should be gone. Quad rails are gone, dudes. I mean, I'm going to talk, as we talk about would I buy this gun, some modifications, and you can probably guess I would pitch this handguard. Is it better than the original one of the LR308? Yeah, probably. Those were extraordinarily heavy. I mean, I peeled those off and threw on some Troy Alphas, and it saved a remarkable amount of weight. The only problem is you just have to pick rail, extra weight, and do we really need it? No. And free floating with a sapper, how much does it count for? I do like free floating, but what I don't like is getting an extra 4-6 ounces. That's why I've left those, the M&P10s, is the way I do. Just leave them. This receiver, we talked about it, 7075. Good looking gun though. And they actually tried to design the G2 series the same size as an AR-15. I think overall it's that way. It has that appearance, but appearances aside, it's really in the weight, isn't it? It is. It's in the weight of how much it weighs. You know, you make it again, 7 pounds 12 ounces, decent barrel. Dude, that's something, man. That is something. Still takes the standard DPMS magazine. That's good. Firepower, therefore, is standard. The trigger in this thing, the G2 series, is really excellent. I was surprised. I'm not going to pull it here just for time, but 4 pounds 10 ounces tonight. You might get it down to 4.5. 2-stage, really clean break. We all remarked both in the field when I went to the range about how good the G2 trigger was. It's like awesome. Enlarged trigger guard here. You have some milling, not milling, but just some striations here on the front of the mag well. Pretty standard, actually. You're going to have a different variety of furniture depending on which model of DPMS G2 you would buy. This one is running the MFT G27. I don't like finger grooves on my grips. I would pitch that immediately. It would be gone. Maybe you guys do. One thing I do like about this MFT is it's not rubberized, and so it won't be grabby against cloth. MOE buttstock on the back. I think this is mil-spec buffer tube here, and no sling plate here. In fact, there's really no way to readily attach a sling to the G2 Recon, which is kind of a miss. They should have some type of provision, especially for the price. I mean, it might be basic, like the M&P10 just has a little sling swivel right here. Is it perfect? No, it's not. It's something, though. The charging handle's got to go. It is a standard charging handle, AR-10 style charging handle. And with a scope, you're just short on real estate. So, but it's a money saver. And a lot of companies do that. You can see, I forget which one I put on here. I forget which one that is, but I do it on any sapper I have. It's going to have an enlarged charging handle. By the way, even with a reflex optic, it's going to have an enlarged charging handle, just because grasping that is ridiculous. That's what I'm saying. It's just not even in the realm of what I would be willing to put up with. In the redesign of the G2 series, they did make a lot of changes. I have talked about some of them. The redesigned bolt carrier, I'll try to show you a picture of that somewhere along the way. There is also a larger extractor, and I guess I'll crack into this and get dirty right now. I have to kind of have it cleaned for the return to Gunnies. I do show the serial number, as you can see, because if you end up buying this gun, you can say, hey man, that was the one used on the tabletop. Damn it, that's why I don't like doing it. I just freaking got carbon on the table. Standard, I always do that. That's why I hate taking the dirty guns apart. So here's the smaller, more refined, more trim bolt carrier group out of, you guessed it, the G2. We're talking about the longer extractor. And now it has an elastomer button in it instead of a spring. And so DPMS talked about their testing cycle, about how it did not wear out. That was identified as a possible failure point in the Series 1 of the LR308s. They have radius locking lugs here. And then here at the gun, they have steel feed ramps that are replaceable, which is kind of cool. I didn't really know that until I started looking around prior to the tabletop. I was like, oh, I didn't know they did that. That's pretty sick. I do like how lightweight and trim that is, and I do like less reciprocating mass. I just wish the damn thing was reliable, right? That's not too much to ask, I don't think. And then we'll close it on up here. Let's check the upper and lower receiver fit. See how she does. Nothing tricky as far as being able to tighten the upper and lower. You'll see that I think migrate to AR-10 style rifles sooner or later, hopefully sooner. You'll see them in higher end ARs, kind of like the POF Renegade. And there actually are some value point ones that I've been reviewing that have that as well. They do have a longer ejection port and a redesigned case deflector right here. That's supposed to damage brass less if you reload. I thought ejection was adequate. It was consistent across the board. I didn't really see a problem in it when it worked. When it worked. And that's the long and short of it, really. The gun, I think I covered most of the stuff. Pick rail, nothing surprising there. And this is just a test bed scope on here, an old Nikon in a Night Force mount. Actually, a very expensive Night Force mount. Would I buy this gun? Knowing what I know with all the changes. Oh, and I forgot to mention, speaking of changes, improved metal for the ejector, and it has a titanium firing pin on the G2 series. All cool, right? All cool, sounds good, looks great on paper, and yet it's got to be reliable. Would I buy it? Probably not, because it's an expensive gun. I talk MSRP now. It's $1,760, $1,700 or so MSRP. That's going to be around the same price as M&P10. I would just get an M&P10, actually, or that optics ready carbine, or whatever Bushy's calling that. That's a great gun. I thought I had a target for one of those. If not, I'll roll in the ORC. They're calling it something else now, but dang, is that a great AR-10. That is awesome. Now it's basic, and some of the competitive options that you would get, you're going to change things out. And again, the M&P10, which is a cast member, is very indicative of that process. So here I have an MFT stock Magpul MOE grip. Left this standard, there's that Battle Comp 308 right here. You talk about an awesome, albeit very expensive muzzle device for your sapper. Dang, dude, that gets the job done. It makes shooting this M&P10 double thumbs up. On this gun, and I kind of intimated to this, or I kind of hinted about this earlier, what I would change, I would get rid of the rail. Absolutely. I would put on a different muzzle device, probably a battle comp. There's a lot of other good ones out there though. I'm not going to go down a list. I wouldn't do anything with a trigger. I'd get rid of that. I'd stick with the MOE buttstock. I like that, and then a charging handle. So I'm basically looking at more money spent on what I consider to be a pretty expensive gun. But before I would do any of that, if I got it, if I bought this particular gun, is I would send it back to the manufacturer and tell them to fix it. Again, I said this, I think I'm being very fair about it. It could be something simple, you know, send it back to DPMS, they can it back. Next thing you know, you have a 1 to half MOA sapper that's completely reliable. I think some commenters in the video will point out, and it bears you know, mentioning, and they have a point, is that, well, if it, you know, if it was unreliable one time, how do you know down the road it's not going to give you problems? I hear you, brother, but I'll tell you what, I brought a lot of major brands to this table that have had problems, right? And then I've sent some back to manufacturers, and they've been great after that. Who knows, man? All gun companies can have problems. The main reason, and this may surprise you, that I would not buy this gun is not really the reliability, because I feel like I could get it fixed through the manufacturer, is I just don't like the configuration. I don't like a 16-inch barrel. I'm spending MSRP 1700, maybe street, a lot less. But I don't like the quad rail. It's a lot of work for me to get that damn quad rail off. Oopsie. I mean, I'm replacing a lot of things for an expensive rifle. And it's not a configuration I like. There you go. I mean, the one thing I loved about my Gen 1 LR308s is those things were, yes, extremely reliable. And yes, extremely accurate. And I could just count on them. And that's why I hung on to them. They actually formed the core of my sapper rifles. Before TMP, I'm talking, that I just felt like it was my go-to-war option for a 308 style AR-10. The Gen 1s. I think there were better guns than this. They weren't as technical. Bigger bolt carriers, heavy. I mean, with a scope, those things were like 11 pounds. It was insane. But they were 20-inch barreled guns. The TAC-20 was a 20-inch barreled gun. But man, I could rely on them. Not so much this one. So to answer the question, probably not, and I think I'm pretty clear on exactly why. The good thing is there's a lot of great options out there. Get into my playlist folder on my main channel page, and I have one just for AR-10 style and main battle rifles. What I'm trying to say is a 308 battle rifle in that playlist, and I'm playing catch up. I'm doing the best I can. As long as the viewers support the workload in this process where I'm getting guns into the playlist that should have been there a long time ago, like the G2 series, you're going to see more. So go in there, click around, click on the ones you want. A shorthand way of doing it is, I would like you to watch a video, but oftentimes I'll put a likability scale in there. By the way, the watch for the review is this Wagner Swiss Army. Dude, I just got it in Amazon for $52. Sapphire crystal, this watch. It is number 73115. I think that is a 40mm case, and it is excellent. Mini watch review right here. Awesome. Love it. That's the G2 series reviewed in the Nut and Fancy project. Thanks for watching. More to come.